For one Virginia family, the bonds formed between brothers run deep through joy and sorrow, and in this story, through the deaths of mental illness. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. There are parts of this story that are difficult to see and hear, but it's one that illustrates the line between the system, the patient, and just how blurred that can become. First, we want to show you a picture of Alan Thibodeau and his three brothers in February of 2021. Less than 18 months later, in July 2022, his family says he starved to death in a jail cell.
It didn't look like him. The weight that he lost, up close and personal, when you're seeing all the marks and all the, the bones and the shallow eyes, this isn't our brother.
Before Alan died, a judge ordered his transfer to a mental health care facility, but he never made it.
Investigative reporter Meredith Anderson shows us how this all unfolded and reveals why no one was ever held accountable.
Another warning, some of the images and descriptions in this story are disturbing, so please take care when watching.
Alan Thibodeau loved music. As a drummer, he kept the beat for every band he was in.
Music was his life.
As the youngest of four boys, he was also the heartbeat in his band of brothers.
I just miss him being around. Think about him every day.
And you say your name is Alan? Thibodeau.
Valentine's Day 2022. Deputies in Bamberg, South Carolina arrested Alan after responding to a call about a burglary. He admitted he broke into a home on a cold night for a place to keep warm. He was hundreds of miles from home. His family back in Virginia filed a missing person report the day before. Hands behind his back. His life now in the hands of law enforcement. Deputies took him to the county detention center, where he would stay for the next 5 months.
Please don't judge us, y'all. We've been trying to deal with this man, but now he's not responding real well.
July 10th, 2022. Alan is unresponsive. The jail finally calls for help.
Just put the shackles on.
Alan is lying on the floor in his cell, naked and covered in his own feces.
1, 2, 3.
For the first time, his emaciated body comes into view of the camera. He doesn't move at all, even as deputies cover him up, even as they begin to roll him through the halls of the detention center. His feet are dragging, much like the process that brought him to this point.
Doesn't look nothing like he did that morning we got him.
Alan is dying. His organs are failing. The 51-year-old is essentially starving to death.
Looks like he hasn't ate since he's been here.
146 days after Alan's arrest, his condition was horrific. Documents show he never received any medication. None. Despite Alan's family telling the detention center back in February, he cannot go extended periods of time without his meds. In an email, just days after his arrest, his brother warns it's dangerous and potentially life-threatening if he doesn't take them. And it's not like his medications were a secret. April 13th, 2022. Doctors with the South Carolina Department of Mental Health decided Alan lacked the capacity to stand trial. At that court-ordered evaluation, doctors had this list of medication from his hospital in Virginia. Everything from antipsychotics to antidepressants to a mood stabilizer. The state had also requested info from the jail, but the staff said they had no records, only notes, which it appears no one provided.
And they said he's been like this all morning.
At the hospital, Alan is unable to speak or even sit up.
You have to be tough.
Yeah, because if he wakes up, I mean, he is going.
Well, I need to be able to get an IV, and it's kind of hard.
Still, deputies insist on keeping him restrained.
I just don't want him hurting you guys. That's.
I'm not worried about that. I don't want him dying.
Alan only lived for another 12 days. He died July 23rd.
Nothing excuses how he was treated. Nothing.
You're probably relieved to find out he had been found and arrested. I mean, this was great news. You thought he was potentially dead.
Yes, we did. And that's the thing I think people don't understand about this, is he had schizophrenia, okay? He was a grown man. He was 51 years old, okay? Legally, we had no authority. Nobody has authority over him. He can go wherever he wants.
But this time was different. Alan had a criminal charge to answer to, so they thought he wouldn't be able to sign himself out. He would have to get well.
They said he was fine.
Yes, that there's no mistaking that, okay?
In that April evaluation, the one where it was decided that Alan lacked the capacity to stand trial, doctors noted Alan's jumpsuit was ill-fitting and he had difficulty keeping his pants up. At 2 months into his 5-month stay at the jail, this appears to be the only documentation of his extreme weight loss. Even after he died, a lieutenant at the jail sent a letter to the coroner explaining how he never refused food and occasionally asked for more.
I mean, you can notice when someone loses 20 pounds. He lost almost 80 pounds and you didn't notice that?
So how did Alan's situation fly below the radar at the state level? It's because of something that happened when Alan was in the hospital. The solicitor dropped Alan's charges, and it's not likely out of sympathy for Alan dying in a hospital bed. If Alan is no longer facing charges, he's no longer the jail's responsibility. Not just for medical bills. When an inmate dies in custody, it automatically triggers a state investigation. But Alan was no longer an inmate, so the state would have no reason to look into what happened during that 146 days in custody.
How do they sleep at night? I hope they close their eyes and they see Alan every night. I hope for the rest of their lives. I hope they're haunted by what they did.
Alan was known for being talented on the drums, but his brothers say he wanted to start using his voice and become a singer.
Right there, the system is entirely broken.
Now, his brothers will have to be his voice and a voice for other inmates and other families who might also be victims of a process, leaving those with mental illness dying for help.
No one was ever held accountable for Alan's death. No one. Doctors and nurses at the hospital reported concerns of neglect to the state, but investigators never found anything criminal. We couldn't find where anyone at the jail was either fired or even disciplined. There is a pending civil lawsuit filed by the family that alleges grossly negligent and reckless acts led to Alan's death at the Bamberg County Jail. In Augusta, Georgia, I'm Meredith Anderson.